I'm joined with Sonia Margalef of Margalef Homes. She has been in the real estate business for, she was saying, a very long time, but she handles her clients with integrity. She treats them like they're part of the family, and she's hoping to not just help, hope to just sell them a home, but to help them create that life that they're envisioning, that they see in New Jersey. And what does that all entail? So it's not just about buying a home or selling your home with Sonia. It's about creating a whole community and being part of the community with her. So with no further ado, why did you start your business, Sonia?
That is a very good question, Risha. And thank you so much for having me here today and really listening to my story.
Yeah.
I started because my passions are sales, marketing, and people.
Okay.
And it was at a time years ago when my children were very little. And, I was in corporate America. I was not feeling very fulfilled at that time, looking for something that was going to be more, I don't know, more fulfilling, and it just happened. I just, realized that, that real estate was a great choice for me in that respect because it combines my passion for sales and marketing and also with, working together with people.
Mhm.
What I did not know back then, though, is because, as I was getting
Who knows?
started,
Nobody knows when to
right?
get started.
I was getting started and I thought, this is, oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm so excited. But then, once I got my feet wet and once I started helping families and all my clients, realizing that was such a rewarding feeling, that you're there to make a difference in their lives.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that was something that it was not the reason that got me in to do real estate. But as years have gone by, I realized that this is really what keeps me going and what really gives me purpose and makes me so happy and proud of what I do every day.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that would you consider the impact that you want to leave that with your business, with the work that you do?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel that anything I can do to help my clients, whatever that might be, sell their house, buy a new house, relocate to another state, whatever that need might be. I love to sit down with them. I love to listen to their needs, listen to what is it, how can I help them?
Right.
Like for me, it's not a transactional relationship.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm there, to help them sell the house. Yes. But along with the sale of the house, what is there? What is important to this family? How can I make an impact there? How can I make a difference? And that really, it's, I don't know, my number one priority.
Yeah.
It's really making sure that their needs are met and that I'm there every step of the way as their advisor. I don't see myself, although, we realtors, I mean, we are salespeople, right? We're salespeople.
Yeah, we're all salespeople.
Yes. But I don't see myself so much as a salesperson. I see myself as an advisor, as a strategic advisor who's there to guide the clients, hopefully, to help them make the right decision.
Right. It's definitely a service industry, right? It's servicing your clients. And in order to do that, like me, it's the same thing.
Same thing.
You
right?
can't help them until you get to know them, until you understand what are they looking for? What do they really want? Yeah, they may want a house, but the house isn't, four walls and a door. It's okay. I want to be part of a community. I want to have a yard so my kids can play, or we're growing a family. Is that what you find?
Absolutely. And you're right. Everybody is different. And that's really what makes my job so interesting and amazing because, I mean, every client is a different story and, a project. Like for me, it's, as I say, it's listening to them, understanding where they're coming from, understanding where they're going, and really giving them all the information that I feel, in my experience, they should have so that they can make informed decisions. And maybe at the end, the conclusion is, you know what, maybe we should not be buying a house right now. It doesn't seem to make sense. Maybe we need to wait until next year, I sometimes, I don't know whether you might be doing the same as well, but I feel myself like in a role of a therapist,
Hmm.
because there are, we're all human, right? And beyond, like you said, buying, four walls and a roof. I mean, we all have our own, I don't know, issues, needs,
Yeah.
emotions. And, for me to be there and to really kind of, help the client gain clarity, I
Yep.
think that's my number one thing. It's really to be there and help them gain clarity beyond the transaction, whatever. I mean, in
Right.
the end, we might end up, selling their home and buying a new home, or sometimes we might end up saying, you know what, right now may not be the right time.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
wait for another, whatever that might be.
So what's one of your favorite client stories?
That's a great question. I have so many. I have so many stories, and it's so hard to pick just one to share with you. I would say, the story that actually has repeated itself a few times with different families is, for me, the satisfaction, seeing my client, like that sparkle in the eye when I'm able to help them find the right home. Sometimes the right home may not even be on the market.
Yeah.
And me being able through, my personal connections with other agents that are local, through my brokerage with other agents that might be working on a new listing, and I might have insight into that and be able to tell my clients, hey, we're not finding what you want, but I think there is a great opportunity. I just heard, I was talking
Right.
with one of my colleagues
Right.
or someone in another brokerage, and I heard about this
Mhm.
amazing home that's not even on the market. Are you interested? And they love that.
Right.
They really love that.
Well, it's
And then,
having the inside track, right? Yep.
yes, yes. And so, by doing this, I've been able to help a few families, find homes when, sometimes when there is nothing on the market. And just finding those opportunities, really, I love the problem solving aspect of
Yeah.
real estate. For me, it's really like talking with my client and saying, okay, what's your need? How can I help you? And then be creative about
Right.
it, like really, sometimes coming up with different ideas,
So
trying to see if I can resolve and I can help them, in their journey.
I equate my work like a puzzle.
Yeah.
So you get one piece and you put in, then how do you
Yeah.
fit this other piece in? Because there's, and then another piece comes in, and you're assembling the
Yeah.
puzzle, because all these puzzle pieces could be
Yeah.
their needs, their wants, the price, the
Yeah.
location,
Yeah.
like, and how do you bring it all in to create this whole
Yes.
picture?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah. Yeah.
same.
Same for
And
you.
same for
you.
me. Like, it's okay bringing in these pieces, and a lot of the pieces are not, like you said, is not, it's not on the market. A lot of things that I do for my clients is not stuff that you can just walk into a retail showroom
Right.
and see.
Right.
Oh yeah, I'll get that couch. No,
Right.
they're not getting that. That's not what they're getting from me. And it's the
Correct.
same with you. It's not just like, okay, walk down, there's this for sale
Yeah.
sign, and that's like
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
road, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I take my job very seriously.
Yeah.
I think as
I know
most
you
of
do.
as
Yeah.
most of us, professional realtors do, in the sense that, it's one of the most important financial investments, transactions that
Most people.
clients
Yeah.
do
Absolutely.
in their lifetime, right? I don't take it for granted that they decided to work with me the same way that I decided to work with them, right?
Right.
Because it's a partnership.
Absolutely.
But like I like the fact that that we are working together as a team, that I understand whatever keeps them up at night, and that I'm able to put together a roadmap for them to
Good.
say, you know
Yeah.
what, this is based on everything I'm hearing you say, I think this is what I recommend that you do, and let's work together and let's see. And again, just also, as I say, being strategic and also being very intentional,
Right.
and being very proactive. That's something that I love about what I do. That I'm able to, because I really am not a shy person. Like I will pick up the phone and I will call, anyone, any
Right.
realtor, or, just to see, hey, help me. I have this client. They're really a sweet family. I'm looking, for an
Right.
amazing home for them. Do you have anything coming up?
Sure.
And a lot of them will say, you know what, not yet, but maybe,
Yeah.
call me next week. And next week I'm there calling again, And I don't know. I mean, you know, and I, as I say, it's really been very, very helpful on the buyer side, to find homes for my clients that were not even on the market.
Right.
And then to see that satisfaction, to say, oh my
Mhm.
God, Sonia, you really,
You found it.
you found it. You found it, right?
What's the biggest mistake you see your clients making?
That, one of the biggest mistakes is really, I think, sometimes listening too much to people who are not the experts, their relatives, their neighbors, their friends who may have sold a house
Right.
10 years ago
Yeah.
and they had an amazing experience
Right.
and they are sharing this with my clients and listening maybe a little bit too much to people who really don't, are not there like you and me,
Day in, day out.
who do this for a living.
Right.
That might be sometimes relying too much on that kind
Yeah.
of, information. Another mistake that I am, I mean, mistake or, again, it's
It's not a
such
mistake, but it's like it's not being in the industry, not knowing
correct.
all the like um, how each decision impacts, right? I mean, you can't possibly know that about every industries.
Correct. And, and because it's such an emotional
Oh gosh.
transaction, often I think a big mistake, and I call that a mistake that some clients might do, but with my help, I hope,
Right,
I try to
exactly.
minimize that
Mhm.
mistake. Is really thinking that their home is more valuable than what it really is,
Right.
and yet that having unrealistic expectations
Mhm.
about the price of their home,
Right.
um, and that,
When they have these unrealistic expectations on the price of their home, what does that mean? Like, what's the consequences of that? Like, what are the steps that take you like down that road? Oh, it's worth this much. So then tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Well, I'm a numbers person. I really like data and numbers. And, at the same time, I'll say, what I do and real estate is an art and a science,
Right.
right? There is the emotional aspect, but there is
Absolutely.
also the financial aspect.
Absolutely.
And so when something like this, when I have a conversation with a potential seller who thinks, their home might be worth, I don't know, a couple $1 million. In all honesty, I feel that, that may be a little bit unrealistic. I will say it.
Right.
I will mention it to, we will have a conversation about it. And I'll say, look, it's not because I say it. I want you to see here is what the market says. Here is, the most recent sales. These
Right.
are homes. Let's take a look. Let's really dive deep into, the data so that you can understand, how your home might compare to this other home.
Right.
And oftentimes, if the seller, the client will, in the course of the conversation will say, wow, you know what? I did not really think about it this
Yeah.
way. I really did not know, about all these other sales.
Right.
And, like, I just thought, I went on Zillow and Zillow told me
Yeah.
that my house was worth, $2 million.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, and that's the first thing I always say, it's like, Zillow is just a starting point. No, Zillow does not know anything about your house because Zillow does not, see your house.
Yeah. Like,
Zillow,
especially if you've owned it for 30 years.
correct.
And have you done any upgrades? How would Zillow?
Correct.
Zillow doesn't know that.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
have you not done upgrades? That makes a
Correct.
huge impact on.
Correct. No,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. And I say, it's just a starting point. We are all always curious about, what does Zillow say? It's to know what Zillow says. But at the end of the day, it's really, you want to be realistic. You want to be, you want to know and be prepared. Because the last thing I want to do is later on, someone, a client to say, well, I wish you had told me that. I wish, we would
Right.
not be in this situation. And I'm like, well, with me, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but at the same time, I have the market knowledge. I have, the experience of many years of many transactions.
Having done this many
Having done
times.
this
Yeah.
many, many times, I can tell you, I want my clients to really be prepared up front.
Yeah.
I don't want a surprise. I only not like nice surprises. I don't like unpleasant surprises that, after say a month, 2 months, 3 months, the house is still on the market. The house is still hasn't sold. We need to start, reducing the price. The buyers out there start thinking, oh my God, there is something really wrong with this house,
Exactly.
And there is really, in most of the cases, there is nothing wrong with the house. Oftentimes, it's really the fact that it was priced unrealistically. It was not priced correctly from the get-go. And that can really cost you thousands of dollars.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's something I tell you, pretty much I would say, the vast majority of all of my listings, I tend to do pretty much on average just the first weekend of open houses. After the first weekend, we typically see the traction. We see traction. And if there is no traction, that there was something that didn't work there.
Yeah.
But I see the traction, and we see what the market says.
Well, you and I, our clients are very similar homeowners that enjoy their home and want to have a wonderful home, or they're looking to increase, have a wonderful life. And that's the biggest thing that can, that can separate, like make a great project for me or even a great transaction is this whole thing on price, right? And that's part of what our advice is. Do you find that true? Because for me, the advice is, hey, look, if you want to do this renovation or whatever, you're not doing it for 10,000, you're 20,000, whatever it is. Yeah. Like we want to be realistic. Do you want to do it sort of half-ass, or do you want to do it like, do you want to do it so there's longevity with it? And it's the same. Like it's all about, like, let's get this so that you get the most value out of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And
absolutely. I cannot tell you how many times I have been in a conversation, where, someone, calls me and says, oh, I want to put my house for sale.
Right.
And, we already did this, that, and the other. They already started it thinking that
they know what
they're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they don't know. For themselves, yes. But I'm like, I always ask the question, I said, are you going to buy the house?
Yeah.
Because everything that you've done, it's more for yourself
Yes.
and based on your taste and your preferences.
Right.
But it happened to me actually not long ago. It happened to me. Someone called me. They had listed with someone else. It had expired. It never sold. They called me and they said, oh, it never sold. And we thought maybe we should have repainted it. We never did it. So now we just repainted the whole house. Guess what? They repainted it, in a color that they loved.
Right.
But it was not
a good color for selling.
It was not a color for selling.
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, I am so sorry that you didn't call me earlier.
I could have saved you all that money.
I could have,
And time.
I could have guided you.
Correct.
Or sometimes, like they say, oh, we spent all this money and we redid the entire deck and we did this and that and the other. And yes, decks are important.
Right.
But then you look at their kitchen and their kitchen looks like miserable.
Yeah.
But, they're like, oh, yeah, for the summer, we have a beautiful deck for the summer. But I'm like, well, you need the kitchen the entire year.
Yeah.
And that's where people these days, spend a lot of their time in the kitchen. So had you called me earlier, my recommendation to you would have been great what you're doing with the deck, but maybe don't do so much. Reallocate some of that money toward improving the kitchen because that's what's going to make the most impact. Same,
client,
right?
Yeah, my clients do similar things. They're like, they'll call me after, they bought the sofa, we bought the sofa and we put this and we bought a carpet and it just, and we painted, but it's just like, it doesn't look great. I'm like, I could have saved you thousands of dollars because you don't start by just picking that sofa here. Like I have a whole process of getting the most value and how to, how you should spend your money, especially if in your case, you're going to increase the value of the home to the maximum you can.
Of course.
So where do you get the biggest bang for your buck? Because nobody, and I'm sure it's the same for you, none of my clients ever say spend more, or, I'll spend more and make this house beautiful, right? They're not. They're like, wait.
No, and you know what? Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Sometimes, they'll overspend on something that is not going to bring them the return on investment. And that's something that, I always say, look, I've done this so many times. I can really, based on the house that I'm seeing, I can tell you exactly where I think, you can make a difference, and you don't have to spend a fortune.
Right.
Or, or if you decide that, you really want to spend a fortune, let's prioritize.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's prioritize.
Yeah.
I remember it was last week, I had a meeting with a seller, friends of mine who are thinking about selling next year. And also they had like a whole list of all the different things that they wanted to do. And they said, this is all we want to do. I said, do you realize how much this is going to cost you?
Yeah.
And not only money, but also how much time. And they said, maybe not. Like, they were like, well, but,
we didn't think it was so bad.
Yeah, we just thought that, because that's the thing. They had not really done much the last 10, 15, 20 years. And they're like, we're kind of in catch-up mode.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. I said, is it realistic? I said, I'm not sure what I would do. And that's what I told them. I said, let's prioritize together.
Yeah.
Let's prioritize and let's really focus on those things that are going to make the most impact.
Yeah.
And other stuff that, that yes, it's a nice to have. It would be pretty if you could do that. Absolutely. But only if we have time.
Right.
Because they said to me, they said, look, we have to have this on the market by a certain date.
Sure.
And I said, then between now and that certain date, that's not going to happen.
Right.
If you want to do your entire list, and that's when they kind of realized, they said, so they said to me, oh, so this is like a reality check, right? I said, yes.
Yeah, this is an HGTV or, one of those shows where the people, we'll put this house on the market. And then 20 minutes later, they've sold it for above asking, right?
Yeah,
it just doesn't happen. Or in my case,
no, it
they're
doesn't,
like,
right?
that kitchen, look at in 2 weeks, they did it for $1,000. I'm like nowhere.
No,
it doesn't happen.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
In real life, that doesn't happen.
It's like, okay, let's get a reality check. So what advice would you give a professional just starting out in the business?
Do the right thing.
What does that mean?
And, when I say do the right thing is because there are people out there, it's an industry where you have, you have like really good people and you have really bad.
Sure.
And then everybody else in between.
You have that in any industry, right? Really.
Right. Yeah.
You are very connected to your industry.
Yes.
And you want it to be seen favorably.
Yes.
So that's why it's important to you, because it's not just you, but it's also like the whole industry. And you don't want people coming to you and feel like,
yes,
well, realtors are just a dime a dozen. Like they're only in there to get their buck, right?
Right. They're there just to open a door.
Yeah, what do they do?
They're just opening the door, I mean, yes. I think that, someone who's starting out, I hear so many times, people will call me, friends often, and call me and say, oh, I'm thinking about getting my real estate license, and I'm like, and they want to talk to me. Oh, can you give me your advice? And
so
blah,
what advice do you give these people?
What advice? I say, be realistic. I mean, if you think that all you're going to do is just go there, open a door and just have a sale, I think that you're in the wrong industry and, you're approaching it from the wrong perspective, because it's not really about opening doors. It's not about, an easy life. Think about it. Put yourself in the shoes of that person,
right,
buying or selling. Because, sometimes all their money, all their equity is in that house for their retirement. And you cannot screw this up.
Yeah.
You have to be in it. You have to be all in. You have to really do the best you can, because you don't want to screw this up.
No, you're dealing with people and, their life, their savings.
Absolutely.
And, I think the same, you and I, we're doing it because we know that we can help people improve their life, right? And we know that I'm not going to say there's a more strategic way of doing it that can benefit and bring more value into like doing this transaction, right? Than just, okay, here's the keys and in you go and out you go or whatever. This is, because emotion is tied to it, right?
Yeah.
It's so emotional.
You're right. And then, sometimes I think, there might be people out there, I heard from, some clients sometimes, like, they used to work with someone in the past and, they bought a house, they closed, and then they never, ever heard back from that realtor. It happens
Oh,
sometimes,
sure, it happens.
Yeah, like you never hear back. I always joke with my clients. I always tell them, look, when you work with me, I come with a lifetime warranty, because what that means is basically that, I'm there, after the closing, of course you're going to have lots of questions.
Absolutely.
I cannot disappear. I mean, that's the one time I really cannot disappear, because, you will want to know, oh my God, what if, like I need an electrician, a plumber?
Right.
What if, I don't know, my basement floods?
Right. I didn't understand this.
I didn't understand this. How do I, the boiler, how does that get maintained?
Oh, yeah.
How often, all these things, like, I always tell them, look, with me, you have a lifetime warranty. In the sense that, of course, I cannot warranty anything.
Right,
At least
exactly.
you
But
know that I am there.
You're there.
I'm there.
Absolutely.
I'm there for you at no cost whatsoever. I mean, you pick up the phone, you call me, you email me, you text me, and if I have to come to your house because you want to show me something, I'll come, and I have no problems whatsoever.
Yes. So what's one thing about yourself that you're working on changing? Is there anything that you're working on
changing? Oh, yes. Yeah, I have to say, I've been struggling with this for a very long time, and it's exercise.
Oh, okay. So
it's not really,
in shape. No, it is, because how you feel about yourself presents in how you, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, as well as, giving the kind of service you want to people. It's a lot of work to service people and make sure that they're feeling taken care of. You got to take care of yourself.
Correct. And, and I am someone, I mean, like, I don't really like gyms. It bores me because, and, it's something I've been struggling for a while. And I've started making some changes and really doing exercise. You're right. I have to be healthy for myself and for my clients, because if I'm not healthy, I'm not going to be able to help anybody.
You can't help anyone. Absolutely.
I cannot help anyone.
Like they put the mask on yourself before you put on anybody else.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So important.
So I started doing that, like really, not really going to the gym, because that really bores me.
But there's tons of things you can do.
Yeah. A very good friend of mine, she was so sweet. I was telling her a while back how much I was struggling with this. And I love her. And she said, I don't know, I guess, she was giving me some advice. And then she went back home and she said, you know what? You're going to get something in the mail. I said, going to get in the mail? I just sent you something. I said, okay, all right. So she ordered on Amazon, like those weights.
Oh, okay.
Those, like, the dumbbells. Yeah. She ordered those for me because she's like, we have to make it happen. And she said, I'm not going to wait for you to go on Amazon and do it. I'm just giving it to you. This is your birthday present. This is your birthday present. And so she sent it to me. And now, like, I have no excuse because, like, she gave it to me,
so you have to use it.
I have to use it.
You got to use it.
I have to use it. And and I also started like a walking group.
Okay.
For accountability, because I thought if I have to go and walk by myself, I'm very social. I love chatting and, being with people. Being by myself, walking by myself, that's not happening. So I say, you know what, I'm going to start a walking group.
Okay, good.
And I started, and we've grown. I mean, we are quite a few.
Oh, wow.
Quite a nice group, and, very wonderful people. Friends, a lot of them, I've become friends with a lot of them. And, and it's great to, to go out and walk with them. And, and we call it walk and talk.
Nice.
And sometimes it's very therapeutic.
Absolutely.
We all share, issues that are happening, things that we're happy about, things that, are worrying us. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's so much better than just going to the gym and just, putting my earphone, listening to some music. I mean, it's so much more fulfilling for me.
Yeah, I mean, I only go to the gym because I pay for the session. I'm like going to show up. Yeah. It's kind of accountability. If I don't pay for it, like, I'm never going to go.
Let me tell you, I've done this as well. Like, I've paid for the gym and still not going.
No, not paid for the gym. Like, it's one-on-one. That's the only way.
one-on-one.
It's one-on-one because, like, otherwise I'm not going to show up if it's just like, I paid the $30 for the gym. Okay, not today.
Yeah.
But if it's like that person is sitting and waiting for me, that's accountability. And it's the same with your group, right? It's like, my friends are sitting there waiting and we said we meet at 8:15 and you better be there.
You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. It's
So
that
it's that,
accountability
oh,
that keeps you in check,
absolutely.
and it kind of forces me, to do that. But yeah, no, that I'm proud. I mean,
Good for you.
it used to be something that was bothering me because I was like, oh my God, I would come up with any excuses why I could not be exercising.
Right.
I came up with all kinds of things. And until, I said enough, that's it. I know that I'm busy. I know that, I always prioritize, everything else over the exercise, but I have to, I have to be able to function. And, yeah.
So what would you tell your 20-year-old self? What advice do you have for your 20-year-old? Like,
For my 20-year-old, always be true to yourself. Always believe in yourself. Always surround yourself with all kinds of people, not only those that you feel you are, like maybe thinking like you and maybe, be very similar to you. Try to also surround yourself with people that may not agree with you.
yeah, challenge.
Yeah,
Challenge yourself.
challenge yourself. Because it's very easy
Yeah.
to always hang out with those that, are, like-minded and
Right.
always like you. I always say, challenge yourself because you want to, make sure that you understand other people's perspectives and where they're coming from.
Right.
And I think really that kind of mindset has really helped me a lot because like you, we are in the people business
Yeah.
and we work with people. And
Yeah.
not everybody that I'm working with or that you work with, we might necessarily agree with, or
Sure.
we might be similar or have similar personalities, right?
Yeah, it's
So,
interesting that,
yeah.
it's funny because often the clients are different, but the fact is that I always find, like, I get along with my clients and I have such very different clients, but it's because I'm finding those similarity to say, oh, okay, that's how I could, like, because I have to put myself in their shoes just like you do in order to understand what they need, what they want.
Absolutely.
And so by doing that, like, I'm like, oh, like I cannot think of one client that I don't like.
Yeah.
We may disagree about things, but I enjoy working with them. It was fun.
I'm glad that you're saying this because one of the things that I have learned about myself, which I didn't know before I started my business, is that one of my pet peeves is respect. Respect is like so. I didn't realize that it was so high up on the list, right?
Yeah.
But I have walked away from business where I felt it happened maybe once or twice in the past many years, not something that happens, but I have walked away, from business because I felt that I could not work with that person. I could not work with that person.
Right.
And I was very professional about it. And I said, look, I don't think that we are a good fit. The good news for you is that there are a zillion other realtors out there. It's not that, I'm the only one.
Right.
So I'm sure you are not going to have any problems finding the right person and the right fit.
It is a right
But
fit.
I don't think that, that we can work together. Sometimes, that I remember having that conversation and, the person looked at me and like, I don't know, like he was annoyed a little bit. But I'm like, you know what, that it's better, we leave it that way. He was happy. I was happy, I guess. And that was it, I mean, yeah. That's very important to me because, I come from a place of respect and it's something that, whether it's with my clients, whether it's with my other, fellow realtors from my own brokerage, other brokerage, I don't care. I really don't care. I am very agnostic in that respect. I mean, for me, that is so important, to respect others and to feel respected.
So if people want to get a hold of you, where should they go? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
I am always connected, either social media or phone. A simple text message, or a call, or a DM on Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah, I love talking to people on the phone. Actually,
You do? Really?
I prefer it over texting.
Yeah,
because it's I can hear people's voice. The text can be misconstrued, misunderstood.
Yes.
Whereas I'm talking to somebody on the phone. Okay, I hear what you have to say. Like instantly, we can have a conversation.
Yeah.
But
No, you're right.
I still do texts and stuff. But
Me
I
too.
like the phone. I like the phone.
Yeah, no, me too.
Thanks
Same.
so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
I've enjoyed learning about your process and how you view your industry. it's an industry that can be, not often looked at favorably.
That is true. And
Right.
that's really, and you know what? And that's, I feel this is really our mission, as realtors, and that, we want to elevate
Yep.
this industry as much as possible. We're not there to buy and sell, we're there to help our clients
Right.
make the best decisions. We're there advising them.
Yeah.
And really that's the role. There are so many realtors out there, just like myself,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
who are elevating the industry, one step at a time every single day.
Fantastic.
And I'm so proud of, being part of this community. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for having me. It was such a
Absolutely.
pleasure
Thank you.
to chat with you and learn also more about you, and, to see, all the many things that we
similarities,
have
yeah.
in common as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.